Brief announcement before we begin. There's a lot of outstanding copies of the Douchebag Bible that have been ordered. We're working to fulfill those as quickly as possible, and we thank all those who have ordered it for their patience in that matter. Now, while I was traveling throughout Europe, broadening my narrow little American horizons, a writer called Mark Hill of Cracked.com wrote an article entitled, "Atheists Are a Bunch of Poop Heads." Well, I guess you could see that that's clearly not the title, but it might as well have been. The real title is 5 Ways Atheists Argue Their Cause That Aren't Helping. And they all pretty much boil down to the same argument. Atheists are mean! They're so mean! Why are they so mean? But I don't really care much about Mark Hill's opinions on atheism. The reason I'm talking about this article is because apparently I was mentioned in it several times, and because of that, several dozen, perhaps even 100 of my fans sent me this article asking me, what's my reaction to it? How do I feel about it? So I'm going to read some of what Mark Hill said.
If you have literally anything better to do than watch that video, he answers 22 creationists with all the smug condescension of a teenager who just discovered what communism is and won't shut up about how it's perfect in theory. In another video, he uses the same haughty tone to defend himself from accusations of having toxic attitudes toward women while doing impressions of them that sound like he plugged his nose and took a hit of helium. Yes, I get that being a jerk is his shtick, but his videos have hundreds of thousands of views.
He also says that because of people like me,
condescension has become the default tone. We're attracted to people not because they make compelling arguments, but because they're loud and abrasive. I don't mean to pick on the Amazing Atheist, but the need to defend himself from feminist critiques didn't come out of nowhere like the knife-wielding clown that snuck up behind you as you read this. Here he is arguing that sexual objectification doesn't exist. And here he is again making fun of feminist cartoons, while the point of them flies so far over his head, it strikes a passing 747.
Wow, I really fucking missed the point. It was so far over my head, it hit airplanes, like at 30,000 feet and shit. I mean, that's not just a little over my head, like, whoop. It's like fucking up there. Miles and shit, man. Fucking miles and shit. Now, I try to avoid defending myself from criticisms because I don't like to be defensive. I like to be offensive. I have said that before, and I'll probably say it again. Now, first of all, I am a fallible human being as contaminated by bias as anybody else, and my opinions are just that, opinions. So of course there are going to be people who disagree. Of course there are going to be people with different biases who see the world in a different way. And that's fine. I can't fault Mark Hill for simply disagreeing with my positions. Of course people are going to disagree with my positions. I disagree with his positions. But I do take umbrage with a few of the things he said. First of all, he used the word condescension twice to describe me. And I resent that description. I don't resent that description because it's untrue. I think that it is somewhat applicable. I can be a condescending prick. But I do object to the source of this accusation because, Mark Hill, you have written one of the most condescending articles ever published on Cracked.com. I think it's obvious just from reading the excerpts that I already have that you're a smug, condescending fuck, just like me. So before you criticize it in The Amazing Atheist, maybe you should fix it in yourself. I mean, really, the very premise of your article is kind of condescending. You're talking down to a group of people who are literally as ideologically diverse as the general population itself. Richard Dawkins' approach to atheism is not the same as Christopher Hitchens was, or Sam Harris's is, or Ayaan Hirsi Ali's is, or Aaron Ra's is, or Hermit Mehta's is, or mine is, or Jacqueline Glenn's is, or Mr. Repsion's is, or whoever else out there has ever discussed atheism at one point or another. Their views aren't all identical and the same. Yet you're going to paint them all with this broad brush and just say, they're a bunch of jerks. They're just a bunch of assholes. Another thing I don't like about your article is that you reference several of my videos and basically just say, they're wrong. You know, they're just wrong. They're demonstrably wrong. They're so wrong that the point sails over the Amazing Atheist's head 30,000 feet and hits a 747. That's how fucking off base wrong I am. It's just fucking obvious. You don't even have to explain it. It's so obvious. Well, if you look at the ratings on those videos, wasn't obvious to a lot of people. I guess you could say that they're biased. They're part of my audience. They're biased by being part of my viewership in the first place. Of course they're going to agree with me. But a lot of those videos were actually transcending my audience. A lot of the videos you brought up were the videos that had a shit ton of views, way more than I normally get. That means it's being spread to people who don't normally watch my shit. And they're still like, yes, we fucking agree. Now, I'm not saying that just because a lot of people clicked on the thumbs up, that means I'm right and you're wrong. What I'm saying is, maybe it's not so obvious. Maybe you actually have to put forth some kind of fucking argument. Now, I know you're a comedy writer, but if I'm missing the point so horribly, surely you could print some sort of refutation and still maintain the comedic tone of the article. But you're right, you're not there to fucking refute me. You're just trying to state your opinions in a comedic manner, and I understand that. So I'm not too upset about that. Actually, the only thing in your article that really upsets me or gets my blood boiling on any level whatsoever is something that had nothing to do with me. You said at one point, let me tell you an old joke. How do you tell if someone's an atheist? Don't worry, they'll let you know. And you use that joke as a springboard to basically make this argument that atheists are too vocal. They're too pushy. You know, they're uncompromising assholes. That's basically what you said, right? Maybe not in those words, but that's what it all boils down to. Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna get real serious for a fucking minute here. When you wake up every day, as me, as the Amazing Atheist, when that's who you are when you roll out of fucking bed, that's who you see when you look in the fucking mirror. In your darkest fucking most private moments, you know somewhere in your mind you are the Amazing Atheist. The guy that people talk about. The guy who shoved a banana in his ass. The guy who made some shitty comments on Reddit 1,000,000 years ago and apologized for 1,000 fucking times. The guy who people write smarmy articles about on Cracked. When you wake up, that person, every single day, and you're under siege from people like you and other people all across the internet looking to fucking tear you down, you get a lot of letters. You got a lot of letters. More love letters than hate letters. Way more love letters than hate letters. And most of these love letters, or at least a good portion of them, and I don't mean love like, I'm gonna suck your dick. I just mean like, love you, bro. I mean, sometimes it's I'm gonna suck your dick. But not often enough, sadly. But anyway, they come to me and they say, Amazing Atheist, thank you for doing what you do, because I can't tell people I'm an atheist because I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job, or I'm going to lose my wife and my kids. Or it is a kid writing me and telling me that he can't come out as an atheist because his parents are super religious and they'll disown him, or they'll fucking beat him. Or her. And then there's kids who have actually been sent away to Christian brainwashing camps that are allowed to operate all over this fucking country. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Mark, you should check out the documentary Kidnapped for Christ. Maybe that'll give you something of an idea. So these are people with no voices. These are people who can't express a particular point of view because other people will react violently, harshly, terribly, with no compassion, no understanding, no regard for their right to have that fucking opinion. They're not vocal. They're not fucking pushy. They can't be. Don't you think maybe someone like that needs a fucking loud, obnoxious asshole to come on the internet every once in a while and say, fuck this shit? What do you think, Mark? Don't you think that might be a valid fucking social function, you smarmy, condescending piece of shit? Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't call you condescending. You're not condescending, I'm condescending. We're both condescending, Mark. But I fucking know it.